This is Luton, and welcome to my 2000 subscribers video. So I want to thank everybody first for supporting me and helping build up my channel. I hope that everybody is enjoying everything so far. I've got lots more ideas on the way. I wanted to bring this video, and I know that we're a little bit past 2000 now, but I was busy, couldn't get it out. So what I did was, on one of my other videos, I was asking people to post questions, and I've picked about 20 questions that I think will be the best ones people will be interested in. So yeah, let's get down to the first one. So my first question was, what was the most memorable game you played growing up? Well, my choice for this would have to be GoldenEye on the N64. And I did mention it once in a video the other day, but the reason I picked GoldenEye, I've played so many games, and a lot of those have been, great single-player games, but I think the thing about gaming is, the best thing about gaming is the multiplayer aspect. Getting involved with other people, having fun, and, people are different to AI, and that's, why it's so much more enjoyable. The thing that was so great about GoldenEye was that up until that point, there were some adaptations for the PS, but mainly most games were two-player. So for like the Mega Drive and things like that, it was two-player games mainly. With the N64, they gave you 4 controllers, and this was a really great thing. It allowed you to have so much more multiplayer. The downside was that you had a 4-player split screen, and on a 21-inch or 32-inch TV, that's still pretty tight. It gives you a very small area. There's other things to consider as well, like you take it for granted now that when you're playing online, you only see what you can see and no one else can see that. But when we used to play things like GoldenEye, it's 4-player split screen on the same TV, so everyone can see where you are and what you're doing. So there's no escape, no hiding, no camping. You can't camp because everyone can see where you are. So that's, I think people would think differently if that was the case now, but it made the gameplay better. Like I was going to make a video soon about this. If you want to have some fun with your friends, make it a rule that you have to keep moving all the time. You can never stay in one spot for more than like 4 seconds. And this is how we used to play. You couldn't stay still. You had to move all the time, and it made for much more exciting gameplay because you wouldn't just come around the corner and go, "Oh, I'm dead." Everyone gets the same chance to react in time. It makes for much more exciting gameplay. And so these kind of games were fantastic. The range of weapons and all these kind of things, the 3D environments, the customization that you could have with the players and the guns and everything like this made it a really exciting experience. So yeah, for me, first choice, GoldenEye. That was one of the most fun periods of my gaming growing up. Okay, my next question was, do you think the gaming industry is moving away from the controller? Now, I wasn't entirely sure what this meant, whether they were talking about things like touchpad screens like the iPad and the iPhone, or whether they were talking about like Xbox Connect, things like that, where you don't require a controller, just your body movement and things like that. Or whether we're talking about things like PC gaming and that taken away from the controller. I think they're talking more about like iPad touchscreens, those kind of things. I think the controller is a really important tool for gaming, and I don't think it's ever going to go away. The industry definitely won't move away because it won't be able to move away. Things like games for the iPhone, iPad, etc. like that. I have an iPhone, I have some games on the iPhone. They're very, very limiting compared to real games. They don't offer any kind of real gaming involvement really, and they are kind of fun. The other problem that I have with touchscreen things is that they're very much like kind of gesture orientated. You kind of just move a little bit around and stuff like that, something that they don't have any precision. They're very, very irritating to use because half the time what you're trying to see is where your finger is. They're often poorly designed. And things like, I did download Grand Theft Auto for my iPhone because it was on offer. It was like £2 or something. I thought, yeah, I'll have that, or whatever it cost. The controls are very, very difficult because the touchscreen just simply doesn't respond. It's not sensitive enough. It's not, it doesn't pick up your reactions quickly enough. And also, trying to hold a control of a touch compared to a button, you just don't have the same kind of control, and it makes it incredibly hard to use. And then you have the other things like the ninja fruit and all that. And whilst there is a degree of skill in terms of hand-to-eye coordination, and you're looking at what's going on, you really aren't really doing anything. Again, it's incredibly simplistic. These games are designed mainly for people on commutes, people who are just literally trying to pass the time. They're kind of flash games of a sort. And again, the kinetic thing as well, like movement or Wii, again, same kind of thing in a slightly different way. They're very limited in terms of what they can do with that technology right now anyway. So it does appeal to that more kind of casual non-gamer market, the kind of people who are looking to pass the time, but they're not really interested in gaming. It's more like just literally something to do. And the same goes for the Wii and all that stuff. I got a Wii when it came out. Never play it now. If anything, all I use it for would be plugging GameCube controllers into and using it to play my GameCube games on, which I don't do very often, but I should because they're good. So yeah, I don't think that really we're going to see any kind of movement away from controllers. I can't imagine how they would do that because the technology just simply doesn't support the level of sensitivity and coordination. I mean, you've also got to think about on a controller, you often have like 6-7 buttons, all, or D-pad, was it 4, 8, you're talking 12, 13 maybe buttons. There's so much that you can do there with those things, so many commands that you can put into. And then you look at PC, you've got an entire keyboard, so there's so much information that you're using there to process that you're never going to be able to do that with like a little touch screen or anything like that, or movement. Something that is kind of interesting is they are looking into sort of mind control games where you have like a little headset and you can actually control things on screen using your mind. And look it up, this isn't science fiction, it's for real. There's also things like the Google project where they're looking at the little heads-up displays and stuff. All these things could start coming in the next, say, 20 years, or maybe less, maybe 10. So definitely some really exciting things coming up, but for the now, I cannot imagine controllers, they won't be moving away from them. I just don't think they can. Okay, next question. What made you want to get into the YouTube scene and how has it affected you? Really, the reason I got into it was because I wanted to be able to record the stuff that I did and put it up, and mainly to share with my clan and friends and things like that. Also so that I could, I did a lot of things helping my guys in my clan train, like little nights where we would go on practice and we would talk things through. And I was thinking it would be great if I could take this and put it online, and there are people doing that. So yeah, that was one thing. I did want to do Let's Plays, but they turn out to be incredibly frustrating in terms of setting up, because you have to, if you're doing it from a console on the PC, it's difficult to record the audio off because of the way the headsets are set up. So you end up recording it separately, syncing it up. It basically is irritating, and it's a bit of a long-winded process. And for that reason, kind of didn't end up doing that so much. How has it affected me? Well, it's reminded me that there's a lot of bitter people out there who perhaps really haven't quite grasped a proper perspective on life as yet. That might sound a slightly grandiose way of putting it, but the thing is, when people grow up a bit, they start to look at things in a slightly different way, and they start to go, okay, I might not agree with another person or what they're doing, but I can respect them and there's no real necessity for me to bring them down. When people are younger, or just have an immature state of mind, you're not often as aware of what you say and its impact on other people, and for that reason that's probably why you do see a lot of these things, because people are just projecting these things without really having any feeling of the consequence. But the more experience in life you get, the more you come to understand that, or you should anyway. But also, just to say as well, that doesn't necessarily mean to say that just because you're a young person that you're an immature person, or just because you're an old person that you're mature. That's not really what it's about. For example, in my clan, we've had some epic guys who have only been about 15 years old, and they've ended up running whole sections of my clan for 50, 60 people. They do everything really efficiently, really professionally. But then equally, I've had people that I've known in gaming who have been, in their 30s, between their 40s, something like that. The most immature people I have ever met in my life. So again, it's not really about age, it's much more about a state of mind. But I do think that the more kind of experience you get with people and life in general, then the kind of reactions you see every day to people on YouTube, those things should really go away. And if they don't, you just need to grow up. But the last thing I want to say is that it's given me a lot of positives. It's been really great building up this channel. It's been really fun. I'm really happy with all the people that have come on board. And really what I want to do is just continue to share the games, make these videos. Hopefully people enjoy them. I always want feedback from everyone. And, whilst I'm doing the kind of things that I want to do, I will always take on board what people say. A lot of people have said, oh, you should have more views, but why haven't you got more views? I guess the reason I don't have a lot of views so much is I don't really push it. I don't actively push my stuff everywhere. I don't try to get my videos on every single thing. I don't use Facebook, for example, because I don't like it. things like that. I don't really market myself loads and loads because that's not really what it's about for me. I'm just trying to put my stuff, and if people enjoy it, that's great. If people want to post my videos and want to, share them around, like if any of you guys on Facebook, you want to post them and get people here to look at them, I'm quite happy to do that. But I'm not really seeking to have like thousands and thousands and thousands of things, because at the end of the day, it just becomes a bit like numbers, doesn't it? I'd rather, in some ways, have a kind of smaller community of dedicated guys who really like my stuff and watch every video and comment and get involved, rather than having, like you often will see, a lot of these large YouTubers, people from Machinima, things like that, they've got like 200,000, 100,000 subscribers, but when they put a video up, they only get like 15,000, 20,000 views, so that's a quite small percentage in terms of the actual subscriber base. I would rather have, say, 3,000 subscribers, and every time I post a video, it gets 2,000 views. That's really what I would prefer, to have a kind of more active viewer base who are watching me because they want to watch me, not because they watched one video as it was part of like another big thing and just thought, okay, subscribe. I'd rather people kind of watched a couple of videos and thought, yeah, this guy's worth watching. I'd rather prefer that. Okay, next one. What do you think about the latest trend in the video game industry, where a lot of publishers and developers openly admit that they want the COD audience, like Capcom, for example, talking about the future direction of the Resident Evil series? This is kind of an interesting one, isn't it? Because there's been a lot of talk about this whole we want the COD, audience, and Battlefield did it as well. Well, I think this kind of slightly references to, I read in Edge this month, kind of an interesting piece, and they're talking about hardcore gamers and how they never want anything to change and they want it to always stay the same. It reminds me a little bit of that. In a similar way that, like, when the Wii came out and there was like a whole lot of casual gamers coming in, all the hardcore gamers were complaining, going, oh, this is diluting our thing, and blah blah blah. There's always going to be purist people who want to keep things always the same, but at the end of the day, I think people kind of, I'm going to make a video about money and kind of the industry in general. I think people often lose sight of the fact that game companies are a business. They don't owe gamers anything, okay? They're a business trying to run themselves, and they're trying to make money, and they're trying to produce a product, just like everything else. And in order to, maintain that, they have to change things. They can't always keep everything the same, because they can't win. If they make it the same, people complain it's the same as the last one. If they change it, people complain because they've changed it. So they can't ever win. So they often will try to make a little bit of a tweak. The other thing is that people can often read into statements like this a little bit too much. When Capcom have said that they would like to have some of the COD audience, people could be misunderstanding that. Just because they've said they want the COD audience, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to turn Resident Evil into COD. What it could mean is that, as a lot of people have said, COD has kind of slightly died off because it's getting a little bit stale, it's getting a little bit, repetitive, and people are looking for different things now. So perhaps what they're saying is not we're going to make Resident Evil into COD, but more along the lines of, there's a market share here that we would like to bring over to Resident Evil, and if we change our game a little bit, it might appeal to them and the people that already like the game. And I think that's more the kind of thing that they're saying. I think people are reading into it too much, and I think people often are very quick to make a negative view on things rather than trying to look at an overall view, make an objective choice on it. They've just seen the words COD and we want that, and they've gone, oh, they're going to make it like COD, and so people immediately think, oh, it's terrible, when in fact it's probably not going to be anything like that, because they're not stupid enough to think that they could alienate a brand that's been around since the very beginning of the PlayStation. So I don't think it's anything to worry about. I think people just need to think a little bit on a bigger scale. What is your greatest gaming experience on any game? It's going to have to be World of Warcraft, but I couldn't quite decide on this one because I played for so long. I played for about 4 years on World of Warcraft. I couldn't decide whether it was going to be PvP or PvE related. I think I'm going to have to go with the PvE kill of Twin Emperors, and it was one of the best things for me. I was a tank or warrior in World of Warcraft, and for me, it was one of the most difficult fights that we had to do. The reason for it was that you kept taking massive damage, you were losing aggro gains, you had to catch them again quickly, you had your back to the wall, which meant you were kind of fighting in reverse in so many ways. There were so many things that you had to be aware of. The other reason was that I was raid leader as a tank, so I was having to focus on what I could see everyone else was doing in their general communication there as well. So for me, it was one of the most complex and difficult fights that we had to do, and I really felt that it was the hardest thing I ever did, even after that when you went into the next couple of expansions. So for me it was quite an epic fight. There was a huge period of me for PvP, but World of Warcraft for me was such a huge period of hardcore gaming, like 4 years almost solidly hardcore gaming. It was really, really a big thing. It was a saga for me. It deserves its own video another day. If people would be interested to hear the whole story of me in World of Warcraft, let me know, please. Post on here and I will tell it on another video. But seriously, it's a long story. There's so much involved there and so many things that we did. So yeah, that's another story. But for me, yeah, Twin Emperors, World of Warcraft, that was my greatest gaming experience. Okay, going back now, what was your first gaming system and your first favourite game? My first system, unsurprisingly, was the Mega Drive. We didn't have a Master System or anything like that. A couple of my friends had Master Systems, but I was kind of pleased we went with the Mega Drive in the end because Mega Drive was so much better. My first favourite game, definitely Sonic 2. The reason, the graphics were awesome, the music was awesome, the levels were great, the enemies were great, everything about Sonic 2 was epic. The game was so much fun, you could play over and over, you could play multiplayer, there was so much to it that I loved, and for my age at the time, I can't know, what was I, 10? Something like that maybe? It was the perfect game. It was definitely my most favourite game. I played it endlessly. So Sonic 2, no, Inside Out is the best, one of the best games for me on Mega Drive. Okay, next one. Do you think that maybe in the near-ish future, consoles will be able to support large-scale 64-man servers in Battlefield 3 and or be able to attract more PC players to convert over? Well, it's kind of an interesting one, isn't it? In theory, sure, but the problem is that, they're not going to be updating the PlayStation for another few years at least. They've already said when they originally released the PlayStation that they were going to run out on a 10-year lifespan, and recently Sony reconfirmed that. One of the head guys said, we won't be releasing a new system until the PS3's run its course, which is going to be 10 years. So it won't be, people talking about the PS4, it's not going to happen for another 3-4 years. So forget it. Would PC players convert over simply because the PS3 had the capability of 64 players? No, definitely not. People need to understand the reason people play PC games is not because of the graphics capabilities or other things like this. There are so many other things that people play PC games for. Now, I don't personally play PC right now. That's not because I don't want to, it's just because right now I'm kind of limited in terms of space here in my flat, and I just kind of haven't got it set up. I'm playing PS3 right now and that suits me fine, but maybe in a few years if I kind of expand things a little bit, and I'd probably invest in a really good gaming PC and keep it purely for that. The whole sphere of PC gaming is very complex. There's so many games that you can play, there's so much that you can do with it. There's all the modding, the community, the sensitivity. People love using mouse and keyboard because it's so much better for, you only have to see all the guys commenting all the time that, they can't bear to watch PS3 or console gameplay because of, the way that people handle the guns differently and things like this. And they're right, the controlling is better with a PC and everybody knows that. So just by upgrading the systems on the consoles a little bit isn't going to really, suddenly make people go, oh, we don't want to play PC anymore. And also, ever since I ever started gaming, PC players have always been really dedicated to their system, and fair play to them for that. It's good to be really dedicated to something. So yeah, you're not going to see people just changing over, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. I think it's just the way it is. And, there's all these people going to be arguing about, okay, which is better, console or PC. It's the same as people arguing which is better, PC or Mac, blah, 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 blah. Who cares? I don't care. I'll tell you what I care about. I care about enjoying the choice that I've made, okay? So I use Mac and I play on console. That suits me down to the ground. Anybody else can do whatever the hell they want because it doesn't interfere with me. And this just comes back to what I was saying before about respecting other people and not having to beat down on other people just because of a choice that they've made. It's like, if someone has chosen to use a PC, or someone's chosen to use a Mac, or someone plays on an Xbox 360, or a Wii, or a PS3, or whatever they want, okay, it doesn't interfere with you, so why do you care? But just to make a short little conclusion here, I don't see why it matters what format you play on. It's like right in front of me here, I've got my Mega Drive, got my Wii, got my PS3, my Macs right in front of me. Other people, I've seen it, they've got, a whole setup of like PS3, old retro systems, PC, things, they have a whole setup. people don't play on one system. They have a range of things, and at some point they probably have played on another thing. Like, for example, in the past, I've played on PC in the past, I've played on things. So everyone has a huge experience. So it doesn't really matter. Just enjoy what you do. That's all that matters, is enjoying what you do. And after all, isn't that what we play games for in the first place? To enjoy them, to have some fun? So people need to stop worrying about all these semantics and just play the games. Just play the games, enjoy them, be part of a community, get involved, think about it, be part of gaming. That's what's important.